Welcome back to Final Fantasy 13. Well, I was about to say 13-2 for some reason. Never mind, it's 13. Okay, so yeah, let's explore now with Sazh and Vanille.
What are we doing? We're moving on, I guess.
That's again. Sorry, Joe.
Report that this is actually the worst dungeon in the game.
For as much, sorry,
go on.
That's a thing, Joe. But for as much as we make fun of the whole heroes don't need plans thing that Snow says, the truth of the matter is that neither of them ever think up of exactly what to do. They just start walking around at random with no real goal because.
See, this is exactly why I deride everyone else for, harping on Snow. Sure, yeah, call him an idiot as much as you want. You guys are just as, if not more, aimless than him. In fact, ironically, Snow is the only one who came up with a plan out of these idiots.
Also, yeah, okay, let me use this to mention. I mentioned about how the monster design and nowadays is actually more tolerable, at least to me. The bombs in this game,
no.
They still.
Those are not bombs.
Yeah? I like the idea that they are, a polygon, but like a geode that eventually gets transformed if you piece them off. But it doesn't translate well to an appealing design for such an iconic monster. And, well, it doesn't surprise that, this kind of design for the bomb has not really been used so much when it comes to, being recurring. Outside of when it comes to represent Final Fantasy 13 itself in stuff like, say, Record Keeper. When it comes to representing just the bomb franchise, it's either the very classical design or the one from Final Fantasy X.
Honestly, a lot of these designs for creatures and whatnot didn't get reused.
Ah, that's where you're wrong, Jova. A lot of them actually started being reused already in Final Fantasy XIV, mostly because of the similarities with the Crystal Tool engine. They had some excuses to import some models already starting with the 1.0 versions, particularly the robots that you can actually find in this dungeon, with having some tongue-in-cheek excuses to why, they have a design that might be similar to that, and just saying that it was technology just from our civilization altogether. It's a trick that 14 pulls off when it comes to referencing stuff from other games, But later on, they started adding a couple of in there, which, again, it goes to a testament that the designs for these monsters are not that inherently bad. It's just that some of them do unfortunately stick out the most as not really pretty, which is a good lean because from what I'm checking here from the timeline, there's not much story until a while. So I guess it's finally a good time to talk about the soundtrack because it basically has kind of like the same thought
perfect
process.
Timing since we're listening to one of Saz's themes.
Okay, like Dave's mentioned, I think a couple of in one of the early parts. At this point, Nobuo Uematsu was not anymore the go-to composer for the series. He was still doing some works, but not as directly. For 12 had
he did the main theme.
Yeah, but it had Hitoshi Sakimoto, which is basically the go-to composer for Matsuno, so it was a no-brainer. But the last thing that Uematsu did entirely was 11. Already in 10, he had help from, I think, the composers that did work in his game, but particularly the main responsible for it, Masashi Yamazu. Like I mentioned in the Nintendo Direct, he did started work with stuff like the one of the Front Mission games, but he mostly became famous also thanks to his work for a PS2 game called Unlimited Saga. And like I mentioned, unfortunately, the soundtrack is probably the best part of that game because it's a bit of a mess. Even the producer of the Saga franchise admitted it in post. And if anything, as people noticed, the battle theme from this game, Blinded by Light, contains a lot of similarities from the battle theme from Unlimited Saga, so they might be on the nose. Here's the thing, however. As someone who generally, likes the most of this soundtrack, it has still the fact that in previous Final Fantasy games, the worst cases for soundtracks were just something that, yeah, I guess it might as expand. It's just not for me, but I can ignore it. Pedro mentioned it for 8, but my personal case is like 10, Final Fantasy X, where it only has 1 or 2 tracks I generally like, but all the others are basically passable to me. 13, and unfortunately its sequels, Lightning Returns a bit less, but especially 13 too. tends to have the case that when a soundtrack tanks, it tanks hard.
Yeah.
So it has one or two cases like one of Sazh's theme, which we haven't heard yet. But mostly the vocal themes that are supposed to be the dungeon themes. Some are fine, particularly if you hear them in a bubble, like you listen them as a soundtrack on your own. But as actually accompanying pieces for the actual, like say, dungeons, they do not really fit as much as they want to do. A problem which will be exacerbated in 13.2, unfortunately. But But actually, hold on. Here's the bigger thing. The thing that we did mention in the original run, which is also the most important, Pedro already reminded. Throughout the franchise, 3 themes were at least constant in some kind of way. Unfortunately, not as much as we want them to, but at least 1 or 2 of them were present. The prelude, which is a simple stringing of a note, mostly from a harp, which represents the theme of the crystals, usually used for the opening.
Yeah.
The victory fanfare, which has been a staple since the first game, yes. The only times they were changed, of course, for very specific spin-off, like say tactics, which in that case makes more sense since it's not technically a mainline title, and even some non-mainline title had the courtesy of using it. And the Final Fantasy main theme, which was normally used for the credits normally because it fits more there. Unfortunately, I have to report not every Final Fantasy game had this one. Sadly, as far as I know, 10 doesn't really have it.
No,
I don't understand why.
10 doesn't have it. No.
But this game has. No, not any of them.
Nope.
None of those 3 are here, and for no real adequate reason.
No.
Actually,
let me put it this way: it would be like
Were they trying to really revamp the franchise to the point where
little
more of that?
The Final Fantasy main theme is basically kind of replaced from the game's main theme, which is not bad, but usually it's the main game's theme, it's accompanied by the Final Fantasy main theme instead of taking just the spotlight,
And that's the bizarre thing. 14 had all the themes.
Well,
that's because Yoshida loves to just stay true to the roots.
Well, remember, Pedro, he didn't direct 14 initially.
You also have to remember that
Realm Reborn has them too.
1.0 version of 14. But let me get to it. Again, the prelude is just basically absent, and they did not really. They just replaced it with another version of the main game's theme, And the victory fanfare is replaced by a very the one that replaced it might be fine for a generic RPG game on its own. It's a very quiet and smooth, but for the standards of Final Fantasy tradition, I'm sorry, it's just not fitting. It sticks like a sore thumb.
If I may, this is the kind of soundtrack where there are definitely some standouts and some bangers. But you would not catch me really buying the soundtrack as a whole, because for every good song in this game, there's like 10 generic ones and a few stinkers which are just terrible.
That's basically my entire thing with this soundtrack. This soundtrack to me is one of the weakest of the entire series. Like, I like Blinded by Light, I like Born Anew, aka the final boss theme. And I like
the Adolan's boss theme.
Honestly, I wouldn't even. That's the thing, Jova. You just told me that I can't even hum it right now off the top of my head.
Okay. But let me actually put it this way, Jova. I know what you're talking about. Which of the two? The first, I take.
Oh, no. It's the theme that's literally titled Eidolon.
Okay, then. That's basically the first one, because the Eidolon fights get too different. Again, as a general rule of thumb, I like all the battle themes in this game, and I actually can do, more in a sense also because I have quite the selection of from this game in my MP3 list. I like a couple of actually the dungeon themes. There's one which will be here way later down the line, which uses the pardon the pronunciation, bossa nova style, which is apparently a Brazilian style of music. That one is actually pretty cool.
Remind me, what's the name of the boss theme for when, for the first boss fight where you're fighting with the Scorpion?
Oh, Saber's Edge.
Yeah, Cyber's
Yeah, I
Edge.
kind of
Edge.
like that one too.
But again, and there's also the theme that you normally use for some other different situation, or like say later on the hunting mission. I think it's called like Struggle or something. Again, general rule of thumb, I like all the battle themes in this game, including also the ones Pedro mentioned, like say Fighting Fate, Born Anew, and Ancient Requiem.
Yeah, let me put it this way. I also like Saz's theme. My problem with most of the soundtrack is that aside from those tracks I just mentioned, most of the soundtrack when I'm playing this game, and yeah, as you can see I through the video, I just played it recently, so I have it fresh in my mind. Most of the time, I don't even notice the music is playing, to be honest with you. The music doesn't really do enough to make its presence known to me. Compare this to the music you hear in something like Final Fantasy IX. Because it's just one of those cases where the soundtrack doesn't quite do it for me. And it's, you know, it's an interesting thing. And Tay was just talking about how he doesn't care for either of the trilogies in general, except for maybe this one. I actually am kind of an oddball when it comes to this trilogy regarding this music, because I don't care much for this soundtrack, but I don't hate it. I hate the soundtrack of 13-2. That soundtrack can go die in a car fire as far as I'm concerned. That soundtrack...
Pedro! But
Is that the
Pedro!
one with that chocobo theme?
Yes, yes.
It's a love-hate for me because it has really the lowest lows and a lot much more in this game. But god damn it, it has the best version of the Battle of the Big Bridge. That
I
has
was
to
also
count
gonna
for
say
something.
13-2 also has my favorite version of, wait, hold on. Was 13-2 the one that has that boss version of Blinded by Light, or is that Lightning Returns?
Let's give this a shot.
It can be either. Crimson Blitz, which is the standard battle theme from Lightning Returns, as it's kind of take down as a remix. You have to understand that between this trilogy and all the crossover, Blinded by Light has been remixed like a fuck ton of times.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry.
Pedro?
No, it's just I was trying to finish, so... Alright. But yeah, I hate 13-2's soundtrack with a passion. Yeah. But I love Lightning Return soundtrack, actually. There's a lot of tracks in that game that I actually like. For example, I would have enjoyed Grand Pulse in this game a lot better if it had the Wildlands theme, to be honest with you, because it's a much better theme than the Grand Pulse one, to be honest with you.
Is it?
And for as terrible as that ending is, and trust me, you will have I will have no problem telling you how much the ending of Lightning Return sucks. Trust me, I have no issue. The music that plays during it, though, is so good. Oh God, such
It
a
just belongs in a better game.
It does. It does.
So it's like 06 then.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's say this.
Yeah. No. Remember this. I'm the oddball who says that Sonic 06 has the best cutscene music in the entire series. Cutscene music specifically.
Yeah.
I'd argue the soundtrack is arguably the best in the series.
So here's my take on Lightning Returns' soundtrack. I don't know why, but for some reason that's the soundtrack of the 13 trilogy that I have the hardest time remembering stuff from. Aside from the remixes here and
I
there.
can tell you this, it hasn't been helped by the fact that Lightning Returns' score has been the one that has been remixed the least among them.
Here's what you do, Jova. Go on YouTube.
I guess-
Sorry. Go on.
Okay, with the original 13 game, they are the closest thing to iconic. And by that I mean most widely recognized, so I can remember that, especially if how repetitive the soundtrack can get. 13-2 I can remember from its highs, but mostly its lows. Like, no, trust me, when you hear a soundtrack like 13-2, it stays with you, but for all the wrong reasons. Like, I kid you not, Dibs, one of the boss themes is literally a Devil May Cry song. It just transposed into Final Fantasy.
I think we're about
for
to get
some
another
reason.
actual cutscene.
Yeah, I'll explain what I'm typing right now or later.
So we made it.
Somewhere.
Wherever we're going.
Does it look okay?
Yeah, that's the thing. These characters are so aimless.
Oh, it's this cutscene.
Yeah. I hate this cutscene, and this is the first. Yeah, Joe, we were talking about how we're going to point out problem with Vanille. Well, I have my first problem right here.
She can't.
No, you'll see. Just watch. I'll wait for it.
It's not that easy, Vanille.
She's a terrible snorer, right?
No. I wish that was the case.
Ah!
Oh, here, right now.
What?
Do not cross this line. Understood?
Why are we doing
What is with that
this
accent?
2-bit anime
I'll speak
cliche?
Australian.
So, okay,
Not real Australian.
Okay, Sazh. Pinky swear not to rape me while I'm sleeping, okay?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, that's
What?
not a good look for her. That is kind
Not
of...
even that. Like, the game just... I don't even want to say it.
No, go ahead.
Hold on.
Oh, but look, she actually did end up cuddling next to him for some reason.
I get what they were trying to do, but the implications are just, man.
I'm gonna remind you that she's the... Okay, I get that they're both... I get that Vanille is 19, so it's not like it's necessarily a problem to imply anything. But yeah, it's the way they go about it is just terrible.
I honestly didn't really see much of anything. I can't see.
It's more so the whole fact that she literally drew
Kind of
a...
pointless.
She just drew a fucking line on the map saying, "Don't cross this line," and it's just like, and as Sazh says, "Grow up." Like seriously, that's such an infantile thing to say.
Meanwhile,
So I don't.
Okay,
Okay. I'm sorry. This is one of those rare cases where I'm gonna have to disagree with you guys on something negative.
okay, Glibs. Disagree or not, I should explain why that comes off as bad here and there. This is something that's associated with how a lot of people would portray black people as supposedly more scary and dangerous, essentially. Now, I'm not saying that that's exactly what they were going for, but it falls into that niche of what it looks like, and given how the game kind of treats Sazh pretty crappily overall,
I would also add
it's
the
not
fact
great.
I
it's
still
also
don't see it,
it's the
sorry.
only time in the game something like that happened. Yeah.
That too, as well. Like, and you know what? If you don't see it, then that's fine. But just
yeah.
understand why it's getting a massive yikes from us.
Yeah,
and
let's
others.
get more on point instead, because where I was Molly reprising the role of Snow to meet another important character, well, sort of.
Yes,
Your favorite,
characters
I
with weird
believe.
helmets.
He's come to meet you.
Oh boy.
The Lindblum, reference to a city in Final Fantasy IX, by the way.
Yeah.
It's cute. Probably unnecessary, but I'll take it.
I mean, at least they're not blatantly ripping something off from 9 like they've been doing with 7. That
Yeah.
said, though, get
If
ready.
they put their fists out in front of them, they'd be doing the Terran Empire salutes.
This is this game's version of Sid, a very young one at that, played by Eric Davies. He's
Has
mostly,
very-
he's mostly a tokusatsu and anime voice actor.
Has
So,
very Rufus syndrome.
If it works like they
Okay.
Shinra energy.
that means she must have fulfilled.
You have
her
no
purpose.
idea, Debs. Now, I'm not going to spoil what they do with Sid. I'll just say this, that from what I have spoken to on most fans of this one, they're not particularly a fan on this take of Sid. I won't explain why, because massive spoilers.
He's by
but-
far the worst Sid, as
Also,
far as I'm
I would like
concerned.
to point out that Nomura designed this character, Sid Reigns, with an energy cravat on his outfit.
We're from Cocoon.
Because,
Shipping us out,
yeah.
purging innocent people. That's how you lend us a hand?
Those are the Sanctum's methods. The public.
Yeah, we just dress similar to them. We're not them. Confusing as that can be.
Supposedly, Sid's regiment is one that's trying to defect in secrecy because they know that the Sanctum will be on them. But, you know, Snow has all the rights to be suspicious.
The people don't know any better. Strike down the phantoms before their eyes, and they sleep like babes.
No!
What's with the camera angles?
Yeah, also, not for nothing, Sid's kind of a major dick. And okay, you know what, being a dick is one thing, but he's a dick even when he doesn't need to be a dick. And I
Yeah.
do mean, it does get to the point where it's literally detrimental for
Not
his
just
plans
that.
and
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you notice how Sid and Fang are kind of being painted as possibly villains of sorts. Let's just say this cutscene is stupid in hindsight because of it. And now suddenly, the game thinks it's a great time to show a flashback now. Day 7, the seaside city of Bodom. The pacing of this game is so out of whack, but let's pay attention to this.
You're kidding, right?
So yeah, Serah just broke up with Snow.
You can't drop
Was
the
this
breakup
before or
line
after the
like that.
fireworks day?
Before.
Phone's already
The fireworks happen, I think, on the 11th day.
Always was until we met.
So yeah, we know that they're gonna get back together again. So
Yeah.
What was the reason they broke up exactly?
You'll see, Dibs. Hold on. I mean, Snow is asking the same question, so let's wait till she answers.
We've come too far to quit now.
It's not your choice.
You really want to leave me?
I don't want to. I have to.
Oh.
Listen,
those breaks.
Ominous.
please, just stay away from me.
What happened?
No.
At least tell me that. If it was something I did, just say it.
it's not you, it's me.
You're gonna give me, again to quote Seinfeld, you're gonna give me the "it's not me, it's you, it's not you, it's me" line. I invented "it's not you, it's me," so don't give me that.
Alright, let's hear her out.
Dun dun dun. She's a pulse. She's a pulse. Let's see. Hold on.
Wait for it.
Oh, hang on.
Take a shot.
That wine, man. That wine.
Yeah, that'll go down the throat a bit hot.
Hey.
Like fucking clockwork. Like fucking clockwork.
Also, boom shot, thank you.
Yeah,
Well-
Serah's outfit is weird.
Well, this is a Toriyama game too. Gotta have us some cleavage and ass shots.
For all the, I will say, I will agree with Jova. For all the problems with 13-2 as it gave Serah a slightly better costume.
I disagree heavily. That
Much
costume
better
is...
than this one.
Okay. I'll say this: her base outfit is much better than this outfit. At the very least, it seems.
I don't know. I mean, the
more
entire purpose of that
coherent.
new outfit, 2013 too, is to show even more of her body. I fail to realize how that's a good thing.
Are you sure you're not talking about the bathing suit outfit?
Oh, well, I was talking about the default outfit that she has in 13.2. I mean, obviously the beach outfit is even more revealing because, you know...
Ironically, I think if I recall correctly, her default outfit in 13.2 doesn't show nearly as much cleavage as this one does.
Oh, I got data log.
Well, actually, I think it... okay, if we compare, I'm pretty confident that it does.
Also, yes, the only small time you actually get to visit Bodum. And again, get used to it because it's a very small section.
Remember how this looks for 13.2, though.
Let's read the data log then. Oh, sorry.
That one was actually just saying stuff that we actually knew for once.
Well, I
So
mean,
we don't have to read the data log? Yay.
Well, I mean,
once.
you could have paused. I mean, it's like what I do when I'm playing this game on the Xbox Series S. I come off it for a bit, and then quick resume allows me to just jump right back into it, and that's how I read the data log.
There it is. The worst I can say about it is that it has a mini skirt, I guess. But even then, if I recall correctly, the game doesn't focus too much on that.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of dig that outfit better. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong, that outfit has issues too, but it doesn't seem as, cleavage-driven as her outfit here does.
That's the thing, Jova.
Mind you.
I guess the problem is that there's way too many. There's so many more boob shots of her in 13.2 compared to this that it just comes
that's
across.
a problem with the directing.
Look, I'm not saying that stuff is automatically bad. It just is about it being classy about it. Toriyama is not often classy with this stuff. Just stay
yeah. Have you seen Master Roshi?
Although I guess, to be fair, he's gender equal about it.
If you're with me, the
I
Sanctum
will be with you. No matter what. We've come too far to quit.
You said that.
Again, here's the big problem. In order for a scene like this to work, we need to see how they were before this all happened.
It's not even okay. To me, it's not even that,
Pedro.
Pedro. Even if I knew what it was before it, this romance has the same taste to me when Padme and Anakin in Star Wars Episode 2. My reaction is identical. I just want the next scene where people are slaughtering someone.
Let me put it this way. No, here's the thing. That's the thing. Every flashback we have with these two is always during these 13 days, aka after she became this bit and after, basically. So as a result, we never see how they first met. We never see what exactly drew Serah to him. We don't have any basis for how this relationship is and how good it is and if it's something we should support. For all we know, maybe there's some secret issues even before this time came. Like, we don't know anything about it. That's the problem. We lack context.
I'm also
it's like
saying,
I said before, the plot could have worked so much better if it started with the characters having amnesia, and then they slowly have to work out stuff from the beginning and how it led to certain things here and there. At least it would help things feel more organic.
That line is kind of hilarious, actually. It wouldn't be eternity if you die.
It's very cheesy. I will also mention this for seeing something positive about the directing. I kind of like how they intersperse in some shots the falsies, Sanctum. The falsies, home. The thing where Anima lives in order to symbolize the ominousness of it, particularly doing shots with Serah. I get the symbolism. What we.
In the meantime, back to Lightning and Hope.
Are we going to get that cutscene in this?
No, it's in the next part, Jova.
Goody.
Okay. In the meantime, okay. Does she give him at least? No.
I think it's League she gives him later.
Oh, all right. No. It's not, I'm not talking about the knife too. I'm talking about him taking point. Yeah, it's still now. So I'll wait till this is over. Because I want to finish my piece on the soundtrack.
So I guess we can assume that they just got here from the junkyard, or
they managed to find out.
The game couldn't really come up with a proper explanation for how to go from the junkyard level to the whatever level this is, so jump cut into it.
And that is not the only time it will happen in this game.
It's I mean, to be fair, 10 was more egregious with this, where Sin farts on the team and then boom, they're in the desert. So it's just...
I mean, look, as sloppy as that was, that still at least helped the Venture feel more connected than this, and that was like one bit. This game does at multiple points where they can't think of how to get the characters someplace, so let's just cut in. Here they are. Not to mention the fact that what this place actually is kind of confusing.
The Gapra White Hood. Proto-ecology belt. Proto-ecology belt.
Essentially a giant, basically growing, botanic growing place.
I want to comment on that cutscene we just saw right now. Notice how Lightning was already smiling at the fact that Hope was taking the initiative and taking point in the walk behind the thing. Again, the game literally went from Lightning kind of crapping on him to now smiling and proudly about him taking point. Again, there's no bridge between these two states. The friendship between these two is moving way too fast.
I suppose the plot would say, oh, well, you see, Lightning was feeling really down, but then facing her Eidolon got her to lighten up, and yeah, maybe, but the problem is that, again, it feels like character upheaval that, oh, suddenly now things are just fine now that she's faced her Eidolon. Or again, maybe we could have had a sequence of them making their way to this point and showing more of that, but, well, I guess that just wasn't important enough.
It's because Again, I'll talk about the development later, not for now. For now, I have something else to say. To throw back again my piece about the soundtrack. Okay, here's what I recommend, Jove, and I just listed all the stuff for you. Check out on YouTube, the Lightning Returns tracks, Sunset Path, Humanity's Tale, which is the ending theme, credits, epilogue, Crimson Blitz, The Last Surviving Wilderness, The Wildlands, and The Savior's Words, which is that guitar vocal song that street singer plays in Luxurion. Those are some really nice tracks, and they're definitely some of my favorite work by Amaozu. And it's an interesting thing about it because because I have kind of an interesting relationship with Masashi Amaozu in his music. I didn't care much for his compositions for 10 because remember he helped out Uematsu with that one. I have never heard that Front Mission. What was it? Front Mission? I never heard.
It was one of the Front Mission games.
Yeah,
he also worked a bit all over the place, not just the ones with Ellie.
I never heard that one, so I can comment on that one. Basically, like I said, Lightning Returns was really good, but then I really loved his work on World of Final Fantasy and, of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I actually come to appreciate a lot more his more recent work compared to his older work, honestly.
As another general rule of thumb, as I noticed both 13-2, because I really like how you swim and give me a chance to talk about this, and and the Final Fantasy VII Remake, get this, Dej. As Amazu is at its best, when he's ripping off Danny Elfman and John Williams.
Yeah.
Basically.
A lot of these tracks
Final
literally
boss
resembles scores from either Star Wars or 1989's Batman. Like, the final boss theme for 13.2 contains a point that's literally straight out 1989's Batman for some reason.
And
Yeah.
he did this kind of
Probably
again
one of
in
the
the
better
7,
ones.
and he did this kind of again in the 7 remake as
It's
well.
like I said, the my favorite track of his is actually in terms of original tracks, not remixes like he did for World and 7 remake. Humanity's Tale. Again, it's a shame it's attached to that ending, because Humanity's Tale is one of my favorite ending themes in the entire series, because the violin in that theme is it's beautiful, and it's such a waste. Such a waste.
There you go. All right. Before doing this, Hamazu worked on Front Mission Gun Hazard. Again, the one on the Super Nintendo, I think it was. The first Tobal, along with others. The first Chocobo Dungeon, Saga Frontier 2, when he collaborated for Fantasy 12, he did Unlimited Saga, like I mentioned. He collaborated for Musashi Samurai Legend, Jova, the one on PS2, and he co-composed with Ryo Yamazaki on Digital Cerberus, which, I have to say that one also has very memorable scores.
In the meantime, since we didn't read since I didn't read the data log, could you please give us a quick recap of what the Great Pro White Hood is, on a more a brief explanation of what it basically is?
Well, essentially, it's a place where they, again, on very broad terms, they basically grow they want two things. Sorry, one, they grow actually plants in here. It's like one of those. God, I forgot what it's called in English. Essentially, one of those botanic places, a closed environment where you grow specific types of plants.
Greenhouse?
Sorry.
Greenhouse?
Yeah, kind of like that. But on the I think that we'll showcase in a cutscene. I think in the next part at this point, they also capture monsters from Pulse and reconvert them into the robotic forms, which with the other monsters we have fought so far, essentially. Actually, there you go. From the Final Fantasy Wiki, I had the data log entry here, so let me read it. The Capra Whitewood is the border zone that separates the wilderness of the Wild Peaks from the civilization Palum Palum. Under the jurisdiction of the Sanctum military, the Whitewood serves as an experimental facility for conducting research into bioweapons. The security risk classified area is built in the design. The paths winding through the trees are deliberately confusing, causing intruders to become hopelessly lost. Why would anyone want to access these places beyond me?
Okay, well, so supposedly the reason they're going through this is because it's the shortest path to.
No, I know that, but the fact that the Sanctum expects people to actually get here.
Oh, I get that too. But what I love about it is that according to, I forgot if it was either the data log or if it was Lightning I mentioned, but either one of the two, either the data log or Lightning herself. But they say that apparently going through this is the shortest way. Shortest way to where? You have no plan where to go.
Amarillo? I don't know.
Okay. Later on, they're finally gonna get a basic idea of going to Hope's dad's place, but not yet. We have yet to bring that possibility up. So right now, just like Sazh and Vanille, they're just wandering aimlessly at random. That's all they're doing.
Also,
did they come up with a plan yet to strike it like the certain?
No.
Oh, Pedro just bring up a good point. Shortest point to where then? You people are helpless.
It reminds me of in After Earth, where there's a point where Will Smith tells Jaden Smith, all right, you've reached the halfway point, and all I can say is, halfway fucking where? We're still in the forest. We haven't got anywhere. Okay, let me put it this way. It would be like if in the Lord of the Fellowship of the Ring, right? Yeah. But everywhere they went looked like the Shire. Like, are they almost to Mordor? I don't know. It's just trees everywhere. Like, it never fucking changes.
But Pedro, that's what the Hobbit does.
That's why I mentioned Fellowship of the Ring specifically.
Before before signing off, one last game that Masima should compose entirely on his own before doing this was another for Square Enix, a Nintendo DS game called Sigma Harmonics. It was never localized, but from what I've been told, the soundtrack of that is actually pretty good, and apparently it gets referenced in World of Final Fantasy, but it's weird. But anyway, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so join us next time where we continue on the way to, I'm guessing here, Amarillo or wherever, Hogwarts.
This is not the way.
No.
Yeah. All right. See you for the next part, everybody.
Bye.